Hi, I'm Michael Hill with Canine Chronicle TV, and I'm here in New York City with none other than David Fitzpatrick of Pequest Pekingese, right?
Correct.
And who is this joining us for our little video here?
This is Mary Lou.
Hi, Mary Lou.
She's a little traveling companion for Wasabi this weekend, and just so he doesn't have to be here in a hotel by himself.
Yes.
And
Everyone needs a support system,
yeah,
right?
and she's never been shown, but she's been to a lot of dog shows, so she knows.
She's
the
been well
ropes.
socialized. She's got
Yeah.
it down. And you bred her as well as Wasabi, right?
Correct.
And how many Pekinese champions have you bred?
Well, we're happy to announce weekend before last at the Atlanta shows, Chris Manilopoulos had a little Pekingese female that I sold to one of his clients, and he finished her in 3 shows with 3 5-point majors and best of breeds over champions, and
Oh my God.
she was the 100th champion, bred by myself.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing, and especially for a breed that generally doesn't have large litters. It's hard
Sure.
to raise, and
the upkeep.
so I was happy for that.
Congratulations.
And it wasn't even a goal or anything, but I did a printout from AKC a year or so ago, and I thought, my God, we're getting close to 100.
Wow.
I figured we had like 40, 50, 60 something.
They all start to run together.
It was a nice surprise.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Now,
Yeah.
when did you first get into Pekinese?
I got into Pekinese in the early 70s, just by happenstance. I would have worked with any breed, but I grew up in Delaware. I was growing up in Delaware, and I was cleaning out an aunt's garage, and I just loved dogs and everything. And when I was in school, I used to always write the papers about dogs. Every time I was at the library, I was into the dog books. This was pre-internet.
Right.
And she had a popular dogs magazine in there for some reason. I don't know why. And there was a lady in Newark, Delaware, that was showing dogs. Had a picture of her dog in there and had her address and everything. So I wrote her a letter and asked her if she needed any help, after school or on the weekends. And,
Sure.
Before I knew it, I was being picked up after school and going to dog shows, and
So you got
making
pulled right into
$5 a day, and learning about the care of dogs.
Sure.
Mostly. She was a lady from Holland. She was a war bride, and she met her husband during the war and moved to America, and she was a tough cookie,
Yeah.
and I'm so glad that she was, because even now I just think about things that she would always say to me, like, you put the dog in the sun, the dog will die.
She made an impact on you.
She made an impact,
Right.
when you're just a kid, and
Sure.
But I think more kids, more people need to have an impact made on that.
No, absolutely.
To take things, the care of dogs seriously.
Well, and it kind of also shows how, with dogs especially, that's a sport where it is based on so much work of people before you, breeding and techniques and management for show dogs and all. You don't just make it up one day.
No, you certainly don't. And everybody, it's good if you can start on the lower levels and work your way up. And I think you certainly appreciate things more in the long run. And
what was your progression like? Did you kind of stay with it right from that point?
I did. I just loved it. I came from a large family. There were 7 kids. And, not only did I get to work with dogs and everything, I got to escape all my brothers and everything.
Right.
So I was the middle child, and it was like, hey, this is great.
It was a 2-for-1 special.
Everybody loves me. I can clean kennels. You feel really popular.
Sure.
But, and then from there I went to work for a lady named Mrs. Jeffords that maintained a very large kennel of about 250 dogs of various breeds, but mostly Pekingese. And, I learned a lot there. And then I did a few other things, doggy related, and, and then started, showing on my own, and, handling for other people, and, getting a little Pekinese bitch from a friend of mine, and, eventually started doing some breeding, and, but mostly the early years were dedicated to learning, and then getting into showing.
So it was a very organic, natural process. Kind of just fell into it.
Yeah, I never really cared that much about. I mean, I liked the dog shows, but really, I enjoyed taking care of the dogs.
Yeah, you like the dogs
more than actually being in the ring in the beginning.
Wow.
I just thought the dogs. These are man-made dogs. They're dogs that require human care and love and everything. And to me that was very satisfying, and I enjoyed it. But before I knew it, I had good dogs, and I was like going to a dog show, and my dogs were winning prizes, and it was
like this one.
Yeah, and it's exciting.
Yeah, we'll talk about this in a second. But speaking of care and upkeep, especially with this breed, there's a lot involved with that. Tell us about kind of what goes into keeping a dog like this in show condition.
Well, a little dog like this isn't that much work at this time. A puppy, you'd bath once a week and do a little brushing in between, things like that. A dog like Wasabi or dogs like Malachi and dogs that have, been really campaigned, they require a lot of daily care, to try to keep the bloom, to try to keep them fresh looking and, in good show condition. The hair is delicate, and, on different parts of the body, the hair has different textures.
Sure.
So it's like each part of the dog requires a different, schedule. And then, Pekingese, you have to, even though they're not a particularly athletic breed, you still have to make sure they get the proper exercise, because you want them to, walk around the ring with a bit of pride and, be able to use their legs, and, to be competitive.
Right.
Dog shows are tough nowadays. There's always, somebody out there with a gorgeous dog that's, everybody's trying to get a one-up on somebody else. So, conditioning and, training, plays a big part in setting, a really good dog, up to a higher level.
Making it all it can be.
Yeah.
How is training with these dogs, especially for the show ring?
Well, I used to train a lot more. I don't really train that much anymore. I just figure as long as they're basically lead broke and, somewhat table trained, the most important thing is socialization.
Yeah.
I figure most of the other things, they'll come to learn it in the ring. I used to train more about standing still, doing this and that, but I think you can overtrain and sort of take the spark out of a dog. And, as I get older, I just don't know why dogs have to be robots anyway. I think a good judge can evaluate a dog, whether it moves a leg or not, I would hope.
Sure.
And if a dog sat down, should that be a decision maker? If it's a clearly better dog,
Right. Especially if it's having fun. And
so I don't really worry that much. As long as they're, I'd rather have a dog that's happy, walks around the ring,
Sure.
You hate to kill a dog's spirit, especially a specialist dog that you might be taking to, 100 of dog shows a year.
Right.
You should try to make them enjoy it as much as possible,
because it is spending a lot of time doing it.
Yeah, and it is stressful on a dog. So why make it any more stressful?
Right. And taking the step to, for example, bring a companion for the dog and keep them at the right temperature and fans and
everything,
ice packs and all those things to keep them.
It's they're high maintenance.
Yeah.
But they're so beautiful.
Right. And when it all comes together,
they're worth it.
Sure.
I often think about what's it going to be like someday when I don't have to worry about getting ice in the morning and things like that. But
for now, you're stuck with it.
Yeah, for now, it's part of my routine.
Let's talk about Westminster and this week particularly. You've had some pretty special moments at Westminster. Do you remember your first Westminster experience?
Well, I do. It was when I was working with that lady from Delaware, Mrs. Cleaver, and she came to Westminster, and I was just a kid, and she was showing Shih Tzus and Pekinese, and she showed Yorkies and things like that, and she had Pekinese and Shih Tzus in at the same time, and I'd never shown a dog before and everything, so I had to take in the Shih Tzu because of the conflict and everything. And, back then, Shih Tzus were a huge breed, and there were classes for class dogs and everything. So I was in the open dog class with this Shih Tzu, black and white dog. And I really didn't know what the hell I was doing, I was trying to look at everybody else.
You're learning really quick.
Yeah, and the dog was a little bit, not terrible, but a little bit out of control and everything. And, And I always remember, a couple of handlers that were trying to calm me down and try to tell me what to do with the dog to keep him in order until Mrs. Cleaver could come and take over. But that was my first experience.
So you hit the ring at Westminster from the start.
I know, it was crazy.
What are the odds of that?
Crazy. But, and then, as years went by, I started handling on my own. And, I've had, many wonderful wins at Westminster that are, all treasured, of course. I bought a dog for $400 back in the 80s called Coral Gable, and he went on to become, my first Westminster Group 1 winner.
Wow.
And
that was a good purchase.
Yes, and that was the year that Manhattan, the German Shepherd, won Best in Show. So I think it was '87 around that time. Right. And then he sired a dog of mine called Damien that went on to win a couple Group 1s at Westminster. It was top toy dog a couple years, and we've had a progression of good luck since then. I've just been fortunate. Every year I wait on pins and needles for the judging panel to come out, and thinking, maybe they'll have someone here that won't like my dogs. But generally, it's usually I'll get the panel. I'll go, yes, this is
stars, moon, sun, all aligning. You have the dogs. They produce the next dog.
It's like
something's working out.
I like these judges. We'll go back.
Yeah, and then you got all the way to Best in Show before too, right?
Yes. Well, in 2011. I showed Malachi at Westminster, and he won the group, and that was the year I had broken my arm a couple days before I left for the show.
Oh my God!
So I showed him with a cast on my left arm, and
did you have to practice for that?
Yes, I had to practice. My first practice session, I clunked him in the head with my cast, and
he's like, I'm not so fond of this.
And I had to learn how to handle that arm, being broken and being in a cast. So basically, I just didn't do anything with that arm except, I just wrapped the lead around my fingers and, just, tried to adapt everything to my right arm.
Sure.
And, it was...
But you rolled with it.
Yeah, I rolled with it. Well, I went to the hospital, and the doctor, they wanted to do this and do that to me. I said, look, you can put a cast from here to there.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to Westminster, and, I can't have a cast up to my shoulder all the way down. I have to get my jacket on. I have to do this, I have to do that.
Yeah.
Of course, they looked at me like I was nuts, and they probably, in hindsight, I might have been better off having the full cast and doing it their way, but I wasn't going to hear anything about it. I wasn't going to disappoint my clients, even though they were fine with everything, and myself, and I had this wonderful dog, and
you were in it to win it.
That was the year Frank Sabella was doing the group, and I hoped that we could get the breed to show to such a fine judge like him, and we did. So it was all
You made it happen.
Yeah. In hindsight. Then the next year we went back, and he won the breed under Doris Cozart that year, who did the toy group last night.
Yes.
And then she sent us on to Tim Catterson that did the toy group. And then the Best in Show judge was Cindy Vogels. And, we were fortunate enough that she appreciated his qualities.
It's a beautiful competition that year, too.
Yeah, it was a wonderful lineup, as it usually is, as it should be.
Right.
And, so we were fortunate enough to have a victory, which actually I never thought we would win.
Right.
When I was younger, I always thought, well, one day we'll do it. And as I got older, I thought, we've done so good here. We're going to be happy with what we've got.
You take what you get, right?
So it was a thrilling victory that, still cherish it.
A highlight of a career, for sure.
Yeah, it was just wonderful. And, we've had 7 Group 1s at Westminster with different dogs, and lots of placings too. Like last night, Wasabi was, got a wonderful Group 2, and very pleased for such a young dog to do so well.
He's only like 21 months.
21 months. I think he'll be 22 months on the 27th of February, and
he's done well at.
He's done well.
Progressive.
He won Best in Show at the Friday show here in New York, the Progressive Toy Dog Club.
Sure.
Then he won a specialty each day on Saturday and Sunday, and he won best in show at the American Kennel Club show in Orlando. So
he's off to a great start.
Yeah, it's it's all good at this point. Whatever, just to have these fine dogs be recognized at premier events is exciting.
Right, and does he go back to Malachi?
Oh, he sure does. His father is a son of Malachi, and there's a lot of Malachi in him.
Yeah, so that's a real testament though to those genes that they're producing true generation after generation.
Well, they are. I've had the opportunity to improve my stock through the years by buying a dog like Malachi and getting some stud dogs from my friend Bert Easton in Scotland, and combined with my original stock, it just all it's mixed well.
Sure.
So I couldn't be more happy. I mean, we're always trying to improve.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty happy with what we have.
So that's fantastic. Well, it was so great to watch you guys in the ring yesterday, and thank you so much for spending time talking with us about the breeding program at Westminster. Always a pleasure to watch these Pekinese do so well in the ring.
Yeah,